ain't see me, you Stevie. Wondering how I reach more evolutions than Eevee and make it look easy.
What is up, Earth's mightiest subscribers? It's Blerd without fear. Welcome back to the channel. Today I'm joined by a special guest. You may be familiar with her work over at Dynamite. You did Disney Villains Maleficent, which was a fantastic title. Like that actually kind of was what won me over to the Disney camp of comics as of late. Actually, if I'm not mistaken too, you also did the Oddly Pedestrian Life of Christopher Chaos, and you've done work for DC Ruby, which I haven't gotten a chance to read yet, but is on my stack of things to get around to read. And you have also, if I'm not mistaken, Phantoma and Masterpiece.
Well, the cover for Masterpiece, yes.
The cover, okay. I've been finding this, very fascinating because I love seeing what you've been doing as of late, because I believe initially my and by the way, I guess I should also say this is Soo Lee. I was getting too excited there. One of the things that I was very fascinated by is that, because I initially became aware of you because of your art, but then when you did Disney Villains Maleficent, I was like, oh, I did not know that you also wrote as well. So, and then, discovering that you were doing, Thundercats Cheetara, that was like when I first heard that you were attached to it, that was kind of what I was curious about, was, if I'm not mistaken, you're going to be writing the title. I know, because with Declan, he also kind of, he kind of did art first, but then, gravitated over towards doing both writing and art. And I was curious, with Thundercats Cheetara, are you going to be doing any, art for it? I know there's already going to be an artist attached to it, but you're going to be doing any art, here and there, covers or anything like that?
Yes, I'm doing the variant cover B's.
Okay, that was what I was curious about, because I was like, man, I was like, I wonder how that's going to play out. But
no interior art. That's all Dominico. He's amazing. I'm just doing the covers.
well, I'm sure they're going to be. I have absolute faith in Dominique. I'm not even worried about that part. It's going to be it's actually already, just from the kind of little bits and pieces I've seen just from previews, it looks like it's going to be a fantastic book. The thing I was curious about too is, so with with Thundercats Cheetara, this is going to be a prequel to the current running Thundercats. We're not quite on Third Earth yet. We are, still on Thundera, I take it?
Yes.
Okay. And something that I was also wondering about as well, because, we got Cheetara. She's, I think probably the most recognizable, probably one of the more iconic. I usually, when I think of Thundercats, I usually think of two characters. It's usually Cheetara and Panthro, and never in that specific order. It's usually interchangeable.
Very fair.
Yeah. I mean, they're the two that, as a kid, I was like, oh, she's, incredibly fast. She's powerful. She had the big hair, it was
exactly.
I was like, dude, she's fabulous. I love her for this. And Panther is just really cool. So it's just I thought it was awesome that they're starting out with Cheetara. So the thing I was curious about is how do we get set up for Thundercats Cheetara?
I don't want to spoil anything, but it is set before everything ever happens. So that's the biggest thing. And I'm kind of just going back and putting the pieces together of what Thundera and there might have been in my version, of course. There's some material to go by, but it honestly is a pretty clean slate. There's not a lot that we know about this world. Or their planet, actually. So I'm kind of just doing my best and just focusing on it's not just about Cheetara. I mean, she is the main character. It is about her, but I do bring into characters that play a big role in this world and in her life. So the relationships are very important. And in my version, it's years before anything happens.
Okay, that's what I was wondering about, because it's unexplored territory, really.
Yeah.
I guess technically, you could go back to you could probably go back. Yeah, you can go back to the 2011 Thundercat series. They kind of delve into it a little bit here and there, but it's not really ground that's been dived into that deeply. So that was actually what had me excited, because for as much as you hear stories and kind of musings about Thundera prior to its destruction, we don't really get to see it too terribly often, even then.
Exactly.
One thing that I was curious about too is, Cheetara being who she is, she's kind of the, like, the way I always kind of read her is, she kind of had this kind of stoic wisdom, by the time you get to Third Earth, like, she was usually the one that, like, if something was going down, she was the one who, like, would kind of maybe lend some perspective, to the situation, to kind of, maybe, help, the rest of the Thundercats kind of, understand what else was going on. But, like, obviously this is this is going to be a younger, Cheetara. So are we going to see, without, giving away too much of the game, like, are we going to see her like maybe a more, I don't know, maybe like a less stoic, maybe someone who might be not quite where she is, by today's standards?
I mean, yes, for sure. As is all every one of us when we're young, right? We don't know as much. But to what you said is a really good way of imagining me talking about why they might find her her guidance important. I don't want to spoil anything, but that is a very good point. It's why do they trust her so much, and why is she so knowledgeable? Because of what I'm writing about. So just want to put that out there. I know that's like very vague, but I want to keep it that way.
No,
if that makes sense.
No, I'm totally okay with that, because I like it's one of those deals, and that's probably why I feel that this is kind of held my attention. I've been a huge fan of Thundercats since I was a little kid. Not the first cartoon I ever like really like just fell in love with or anything, but like it was something that was like a huge part of my childhood. So like when Thundercats came back, and like it was kind of mystified a little bit, because I was like, I don't know what this is going into it, and I've been watching Thundercats for years. And then when the Cheetara series was announced, I was like, oh, I have I have no clue what this is going to become. Like it makes me excited to see what you're going to be doing with it, because it's like with what Declan's doing over on his side of things, it like is just it feels the same, but it also feels fresh at the same time. And seeing Cheetara finally get and to my understanding, I don't think she's ever had, even when they had the previous line of Thundercats comics like years ago, I don't think she ever had like her own series at any point. So just the fact that she was getting this kind an opportunity to kind of step out, that's more than enough for me.
Yeah, I mean, and there's the fun thing is I'm kind of just making it up, because there's really no backstory to most of their world. I mean, if you go back to like the later seasons in the original cartoon, there are some hints, and kind of I'm just putting the pieces together of like what could have happened or what did happen, how that happened, and what what I mean, because there's not much backstory. I mean, like the first episode of Thundercats, immediately we know what happens, but we don't know why it happens, and then it's just the adventure going on from there. So I'm kind of just going backwards and figuring out, okay, what was their life before like this, and a little bit about like how they are the way they are and where they got there. So that's the fun part. And then also there's a little bit of danger, because I don't really have anything much to go on other than really researching these characters and their relationships and what I imagine would fit their voices to be like. So people might hate it, but they're trusting me to do it, and hopefully you enjoy it.
I don't think it was well yeah, there's always that crowd, but I don't.
Sure.
We don't. We're not here for them. We're not here for them.
Thank you.
We're not worried about them.
I'm not either. So
yeah. Hey, look, you're in good company then. I mean,
thank you.
I like to see people try to do something new, and honestly, I think this is the best place to do it. I mean, if the door creatively is wide open, why not why not swing for the fences? Why not try to come up with something that the Thundercats they've been around for decades. So we've seen so much of them and things that they've been able to do. So the idea of, yeah, I mean, yeah, try to make something different. They'll get over it. They'll be fine. I'm you
I
know.
agree.
I would say though, like, and this is probably wondered as well about with Chitara, and kind of the with without really saying as much, because we know, like, with the setup right now, it's pretty safe to say we're probably not going to be seeing characters like Slide or Monkian or Mumra or anything like that, because they're all kind of seemingly meeting the Thundercats for the first time over on their end. So, like, what was it like trying to come up with like a new like threat for for Chitara and the Thundercats, and something that, I don't know, would, I guess, like something you feel like would resonate.
So again, no spoilers, but
Mhm.
Mumra is definitely not in this because
Mhm.
I feel like it should predate, the whole thing. And also, Declan and Drew are working on that, so I don't need to like go back and do it again, right?
It's like reheating
I
leftovers.
do, right. I do, although bring back an older cast. I have to read it,
Mm.
but it's not a
Yeah.
big cast, but I figured it's also like my version of saying we've always been enemies, and we will always be enemies
Mm.
kind of thing. I did actually create a new character, well, a very minor bad guy for the book, but it's just something like fun that I made up, and I kind of, it's not just one person, I guess I should
Mhm.
say. It's like a thing that happens. See, I'm
Okay.
being very vague, but
It's
I need you to
okay.
buy it and read it.
Well, no. Yeah, please don't give up anything. Don't get. But it just, I love the idea of trying to give some, like trying to insert something into the the mythos that
Yes.
can just, it stands on its own. It's not, once again, we're not going back to the well on Mumra or any of, like, the I guess the characters that you would probably think about, like because in my head they just weren't even there for me for this,
Hmm.
and I was more curious as to whether or not, oh, are we gonna see, like is it gonna be like a new villain, or is it gonna be somebody we've seen before? But, like, just the idea that there is something new there as a threat, no matter how big or small, is something I'm excited. Kind of knowing what this is all like a part of, like, a larger universe. We've already got the core Thundercat series that's coming out right now. Like, was there any as far as, like, trying to come up with stuff for Thundera itself? Did you work any with Declan on, like, any, like, ideas, or did he just kind of give you the reins, or?
I mean, yeah, since this is just my story,
Mhm,
the property, our
mhm,
editor and the publisher just like let me do kind of whatever. And I took some of, I wanted to know what was happening in Declan's story, and
mhm,
also, kind of share a similar voice and how these characters may talk, and also they are a little younger. So I wanted to, kind of just do my own thing. But it was just so I have a good idea of, where his story might go. And
mhm,
even though my book currently doesn't tie into anything of his, I
mhm,
figured, is there an Easter egg I can put in there for something in the
mhm,
future? Or I just wanted to know what's happening in the universe in
mhm.
general. So it was very helpful to like do a team call and just talk about all that.
And because I know this is usually a thing you kind of have to do whenever you jump on, like, like an established property. When you get ready to start, sitting down to write, you just got to do a little bit of research. You got to kind of go back and kind of see, okay, well, where are we at on this? How much, like, Thundercats did you watch to prepare for this?
I
Was there
actually
anything?
Yeah, I actually went back and watched the first season of the
Mhm,
episodes, and then I
mhm,
actually like went online, and there's like a really cool wiki page for
mhm,
this entire thing, and I like went there to look up the episodes that were referenced, and went back and forth, and then like Google things, like look videos. It was
mhm,
just like they sent me a bunch of references, so I had to do some homework for it. Because yeah, I'm making things up, and sure, I
mhm,
could have just made up anything, but I wanted it to be as truthful to the property as possible. And
Mm.
like, I wanted it to be like, this is a prelude. I wanted it to feel like a prelude to an actual thing, So I did have to
Yeah.
go back and forth and do some research and, make sure I wasn't like I had things to go by for sure.
Right. Well, and it's funny too because one of the common things I've noticed when talking to people that are doing any kind of a comic about you already existing characters is like kind of trying to get the voice down
Yeah.
of the character, and trying to because when you can hear it, obviously, yeah, duh, you hear it, but like when you're reading it, trying to just find that same kind of cadence. And like what was that like? Like trying to like figure out, especially since you're having to do it from a perspective that technically we haven't seen from Chitara.
That's why I was like hoping, like when I talked to Declan, I wanted to make sure the dialogue in lettering form was, similar. And I didn't want it to just be like they're talking I'm a New Yorker. They're not going to be like a New Yorkers and just like talk like a New Yorker. But I also did have to watch the cartoons and re-listen to how they talk. And they all speak very proper. There's very hardly you know what I mean? It's like every word is pronounced and there's no shortened version, right? So I had to make sure everything like that was on point. I guess I didn't have to, but I figured why not, right? I wanted it to be close. So they all speak very proper, and I did have to heavily listen to a lot of the way they were speaking to make sure the dialogue was somewhat, relatable.
It's funny that you called out that specific part because I remember not too terribly long ago, when the core Thundercat series came out, there was one criticism I heard someone say, going into discourse or whatever, which I don't recommend. Comic book Twitter is weird. It can be a weird place sometimes. But no, there were people like, oh, they don't talk like the Thundercats do, and I was like, I don't think you remember how that show went. I was like, they literally said like enunciation was like really strong.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
I even told the guy, I was like, you just told me you've never watched Thundercats. Like, just right there.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it's easy to forget, right? And it's only fresh because I had to go back and rewatch the cartoons a bunch of times. But it is quite literally like, they're like, Lino, we must go the cake, and then that's how they talk. And you're like, yeah, it sounds very stilted, but that's how they talked.
Yeah. Well, it's and it was, I'm sure that there was some, maybe, I'm sure maybe there was a reason for it, but I feel like it was like voice acting at the time.
Yeah, it was an American cartoon, it was an anime, so.
Right. It's like, well, you look at it, you're just like, well, yeah, they're like, it's like literally, it's almost like a Boondocks reference. They literally say the whole word. But
exactly.
I think this is going to be really cool. I think it's going to be fun.
Thank you.
The fact that like, and maybe it may not seem like this to some people because, I feel like you said a lot without saying a lot.
I did say not a lot. To be fair, I do apologize.
No. I mean, I'm being serious. Like, you kind of told me, how much effort and energy you put into this without like giving anything away. Like you told, like, the fact that you said the fact that you noticed how they spoke and made sure to try to keep that intact. And and just the effort in wanting to try to bring something new and different. I mean, that tells me everything. More than a whole paragraph of anything could have told me. And I appreciate that because I like when it's a nice thing to see when someone is protective of the story. They want to make sure that when people go into it that they see the things they need to see. And I dig it. I totally dig it. Now, the thing I want to ask is, this is more from like a creative perspective. Just because this is something I always love, the inside baseball on the creation of comics and people's processes. As a person who is both skilled in writing and art, which do you think is like the more difficult task? I guess is probably the way to ask it. Which one do you think is the more difficult task between the two?
I don't know if I'm a skilled writer. Thank you.
Well, I mean,
Hey,
I've enjoyed what you have written so far, so I'm gonna say
well, thank you.
I'm gonna give you your flowers. So
Oh, thank you so much. Um, I mean, I would say writing, right? Because I'm the
Mhm,
one who is creating this. Because it's easier when I'm writing for myself. I can, just make up like, oh, panel one, you know what I'm thinking, and then just
mhm,
like go with it. But I'm writing for someone else, so I have to make sure that they're understanding it. I want to make
mhm,
sure that they're kind of getting the gist of the story. I want to make sure, also dialogue is pretty difficult, especially, I mean, I'm lucky that there's a cartoon that I can just watch and listen to them. If I had to remake like something else, I would have to read it and try to imagine what they would sound like just with the lettering, right?
mhm,
So I want to make sure it makes sense. I need to make sure that like it can okay, I guess the nice thing about being an artist as well is that I can literally picture it in my head.
mhm,
And Dominico isn't going to draw it exactly imagine it, but I can imagine what it would look like what the
mhm,
scenes would look like as I'm writing it. And then the bigger problem is drawing, I can verbally see it. Writing, I have to write it, reread it, then I have to like have my editor read it, and then like
mhm.
maybe I'll some like a friend who's a complete like normie to read it and be like, does this even make sense at all, right?
Mhm,
So I mean, also I'm just beginning to write seriously, so
mhm.
um maybe in like a few years, ask me the question again, and I'll be like, oh, it's nothing. I'm writing a script a day, right? But no, it takes me like a week. Yeah, so it
Oh,
is harder. I've drawn more than I have written, so it is
mhm.
a little easier in that aspect.
And maybe even because I feel like as someone who's already an artist and kind of already used to going through scripts. I wonder if like that actually kind of helps you in that regard because like you kind of know what to tell what to tell the artist as far as like like when you leave like notes saying, hey, I need to do this here, yada yada yada, I got I want this here or there, or whatever. I feel like that would even be helpful. Like, so I feel like maybe you might even have a more unique perspective on how to write a script for another artist, I'd imagine.
Um, I don't. Again, I'm
Mhm.
not. I'm just starting out, so
Mhm.
maybe I do. But
Mhm.
when I write a script, I want to make sure I give Dominico as much direction enough so that he knows what to draw. But whatever he wants to, like, however he imagines that panel to be, I will let him do it, unless it's a
Mhm.
very specific thing.
Mhm.
Um, and then sometimes when artists are reading a script, we're not actually sometimes we don't have time to actually sit down and read what the story is as it's
Mhm.
happening, right? Because we're like doing math, it's pretty much, right? Like,
Yeah.
oh, we got to draw this panel, not. So I try to give him like, make it an easy enough. Like, this
Mhm.
page is only going to be 4 panels. Here's a sentence synopsis of what this page is going to be about. So you're like mentally imagining and preparing yourself for what's going to happen, like
Mhm.
what you're going to prepare to draw. So hopefully that's easier because sometimes it would be nice if I had that, right? And as
Mhm.
an artist, I figured it could do nothing but help him. I hope,
Right.
right? Unless he hates it, but he hasn't said anything yet, so.
I think he'd be fine with it. I don't think it's a problem. But it's actually you saying that is something that I've actually heard that before. That I recently discovered in the last like few months that there were some artists who followed my channel because they don't, like as you said, they can't read like every single thing. They have to be able to get the the pages done, and you got to be on a schedule. So yeah, you can't like go through and just like magnifying glass over every single stitch of the story. And so like you saying that, actually I was like, oh wow, okay. I was like, maybe that is more common than I thought. Yeah, sometimes you gotta kind of get what you can, take it, get the major beats that that are
Mhm.
important to what it is you're trying to put on the page, and then go from there. And with that said though, if there's honestly, yeah, I think that I'm confident in what you got. I'm
Thank
pretty
you.
confident. I'm pretty confident. Like I said, it kind of became a running joke on this channel for a while that I was like, man, if someone would have told me in 2023, 2024, I would be avidly reading Disney character comics, I would have laughed at them. But I am not laughing now. Like, they have all been really good. Like I distinctly remember, like, them being recommended to me. I was like, oh. But then I checked them out. I was like, dude, these are really good. So no, put some respect on your name. Put some respect on your name. You've done good work here. You've done good work.
Well, they're good teams working those books, so
yeah.
I'm not surprised.
Yeah, that also true. That's kind of what I that's what I like to see, though, because I feel like, when I read something, the right people on the right thing. And I guess speaking of that, obviously, Thundercats Cheetara, that's definitely the thing that everybody needs to be getting ready for to check out, which, if I'm not mistaken, is going to be coming out on the 3rd of July, I believe, is the first issue drop.
Something like that. Yes.
Okay, so
definitely in July.
Okay, so yeah, so I'm not. What we're gonna do? I'm gonna make sure we're gonna put like little links and stuff like that down there, and then y'all know where to click on those things. And also, I want to give you an opportunity to, if you had anything else that maybe you wanted to promote while you were here.
Yeah, Carmela, The Last Vampire Hunter is coming out also in July, a few weeks after, a week or two after, actually, something like that. It's the second volume to my Carmela series that I'm working on with Amy Chu, and I'm very excited. It's a retelling of the original Carmela book from Sheridan Le Fanu, so I'm very excited. It's, I'm like putting all my heart and soul into that. The reception's been wonderful, so it's coming out not too long after. So if you want to pick up another wildly different book from Cheetara, my art is in it. So
yeah. Well, I think that's a good place to go for that. Like I said, I think your art is fantastic. I think you do an amazing job. So personally, I look forward to any and all things that you have coming up. So like, I've become a fan just in a very short amount of time. Like I said, hey, like I'm saying, just you put some respect on your name.
Thank you.
Well, I just want to say thank you so much for taking the time to sit down with me and talk about nerdy comic book stuff. And
thank you. I really appreciate it.
You guessed it, obligatory channel outro time. If you're not subscribed to the channel, consider doing so. Clicking that subscribe button and tapping that notification bell ensures that you get more videos just like this one, and you don't miss any of my other content that I drop throughout the week, plus my live streams every Thursday and Saturday. And if you enjoyed the video, make sure you click that like button, keep it plus ultra, and sound off in the comments.